Good morning. My name's Giles Mahoney, and I'm joined today by Dan and Jill.
Good morning.
Good morning. And it's fantastic to be with you, or have you with us today, and especially because the big news last night that Ukraine won the Eurovision Song Contest. Wow. Amazing. And the United Kingdom even came second or something weird.
That's
so
crazy.
Crazy. So anyway, welcome. I hope you're buoyed by that decision. We're going to be talking today about the love of God. And Dan, you've got some great things to tell us about later. And you're going to be talking at the main service at 10:30, I know, as well. And if you are at home and you want to check that out, it'll be broadcast around 11 o'clock when you start talking. But tell us you've got a question for us this morning, I think.
Absolutely. I'm quite excited about this one. When were you recently wrong about something?
Oh, that's a difficult question.
It is really tricky.
Difficult.
For you and I, particularly, Giles, because we're basically never wrong, are we?
Exactly. Or not knowingly. So have you got a story of that?
I've got quite a big one, and it's not that recent, but it does link back to a few months ago when I previously preached. Those of you here might have remembered that I set a piece of paper on fire at the front of the church. And this is a scientific experiment. It's a magic trick where you mix 1 part ethanol with 1 part water. As you set it on fire, the ethanol ignites, but the water then evaporates and keeps the whole piece of paper cool. This was a rewrite of the experiment because usually you do this with a piece of, basically you get some cash from the audience and you set alight their £10 note. You might be able to see where this is going. When I was rehearsing for my sermon, I drew £20 out of the bank in cash.
20?
Yeah.
I think I'd have gone for a tenner.
2 tries. It was two £10 notes. Exactly.
Yep.
And I tried it on a piece of paper.
Right.
And it worked. It worked great. Nothing was burning up. And then I tried it on our £10 notes. Unfortunately, those of you might remember that our £10 note is now made of plastic.
Yes, like the Aussie ones.
It burnt up and shriveled up like a crisp. Okay, in front of my eyes. I threw away that £10 note. But not only that, it gets worse.
Oh, okay. Tell us more.
I was then convinced, as a scientist, I must have got the mixture wrong. I'll add a little bit more water, and I'll try it again. Second £10 note, totally burnt up.
Yeah.
Melted, ruined. So I just wanted to apologise to my wife, and I wanted to apologise to Queen Elizabeth for my light treason.
Yes.
It was not intentional.
Yes, capital punishment, I believe.
Exactly. So that's quite a major time I got something wrong.
Wow, Dan, that's a good story. And the perseverance, I love it. Keeping going.
Thanks for being positive about that, Giles.
It's okay. So, Jill, you're going to ask of anyone joining in online that same question, so do feed.
I am an online pastor this morning, so do please communicate with me. It'd be lovely to chat to you. I think I have to confess when I was wrong last. When we said to Dan that we're perfect, Giles and I, he said, ask your spouses. And so I did. And Phil really didn't have to think for very long. He just came up with something quite quickly, which was my resistance to embrace change. I have a general resistance to embrace change and new ideas.
Okay.
And one of the things that went on for 5 years was him trying to persuade me that a dishwasher would be a good idea. I was like, why do you need a dishwasher? We're fine washing them. No. Yeah, I know. No, I really am resistant to change, Dan. Oh, this is a long time ago.
Okay.
But eventually my mum and dad were getting rid of their old one, getting a new one. They gave us it. And of course, I'm converted.
Yeah,
I was wrong.
That's good. But are you always wrong about the order of the things in the dishwasher?
Oh, I'm never wrong about that.
No.
Giles, I am rarely wrong.
Yeah, I have the
How
same
about
thing.
you?
The storing of things in the dishwasher in a particular way is really important to me, as my family will tell you. But no, I had to also contact my wife, so I rang her, and she struggled, actually, to be fair, at the start, but did think of something where we got a bamboo plant in a pot, so we didn't plant it in the ground, you'll be pleased to know, and it looked like it was dying. And so I said, look, forget that. it's dead. Let's get another one. So we then got another one, which is like 10 foot tall or something. And then she said, leave it with me. That one isn't dead, the first one. Anyway, now we have a competition between us, between the dead one, which isn't dead because I got it wrong, and is beautiful and lush, and my second one, which actually is fairly ropey because I don't really care for it very much. But, so yes, I got it wrong. I called it as dead bamboo, and it wasn't.
So you're inundated with bamboo.
We now have a lot of bamboo, but in pots. Yeah. So, no, that's great. Good story. So do feed in your stories to Jill, and she'll bring them to the fore. But why have you asked us about that question?
Well, today I'm sharing from the Bible in Acts, part of the early church, and there was a moment where Peter did something. He went to the house of some Gentiles, non-Jewish people, and the early Jewish believers were up in arms, and they actually got this wrong. And so the story is about them kind of coming around to it. So.
Okay, well, tell us more in a few minutes about that. But before that, we're going to have a song. And this one's called Reckless Love, because I think one of the themes you're going to talk about is how much the love of God helps us to change when we are naturally resistant to change, a lot of us, and how that He helps us through that. So we'll do that now. Thanks. Great, thanks for that. I hope you enjoyed that. And it's a beautiful song. It's been around for a few years now, but it just is so much expression of how much God loves us and wants to help impact our lives. And I've always found that really comforting in the last few years, actually, that song. So, how are we doing online? Have we got some messages?
Well, our sound, we were having a bit of trouble with our sound, so I hope you can hear us now. I think it was the worship that you couldn't hear. Not many people admitting to being wrong. Maybe they're a bit like you and I, Giles, that they are never wrong. Wow. Although Barbara wants to say, when was I last right? Her husband, Malcolm, agrees that would be a better question for her. Please, guys, help us. Yes. Make us feel better. When were you wrong last?
Yes. Well, that's a really good question. So, Dan, tell us more about what you're going to talk about later and give us a bit of a lowdown of that.
Sure. is it my high five?
It's your high five.
All right,
yeah.
I'm ready.
Cool.
I'm so
Go for
prepared
it.
for this.
Go for it.
Last time I gave a high 2.
It was,
so I'm going to try and speak for a bit
1.5
longer this time.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so today we hear about this moment in church history where basically God tears down the barriers between Jewish people and non-Jewish people. And all the way up until this point, the early believers thought that their salvation, their relationship with God, was just for them. It was just for Jewish people. And yet in this moment, Peter is invited into a house of non-Jewish people, and the presence of God meets them there, and they realize that they were wrong about that. And as I was thinking about this passage and preparing for this, I thought to myself about how often we do get things wrong. And sometimes we're just mistaken, but sometimes we're wrong because we're being actively selfish, and sometimes we're wrong because we're selfishly hurting other people. And really, all of that is the reason why Jesus came in the first place. Yeah. Because you see that because we can be so selfish, God, the Bible teaches us, is good and he's perfect, and therefore our selfishness can separate us from God. And basically, this was all part of God's plan to break down the separation between us, to break down the barriers and break down the walls between us. So he came to earth as Jesus, as a man. He got to know us, he became our friends, and he showed us what God was really like, and he showed us that God is love. And basically, he not only did that, but he went to the cross and died for us to break down that separation between us and God. And we find out in this story, it's not just for Jewish people, it's for us all, that this radical wall was broken down between us. And I think I have a few more minutes to talk about this. He was resurrected from the grave, and that basically means that we can all share in eternal life with God as well because of his great love for us. When I first became a Christian, I was wrong because I thought that my faith and the fact that I was a scientist or really loved science, I thought that they were completely incompatible. And basically it took many years, but I realized that things like the Big Bang and evolution, it didn't look like they lined up with Genesis, and I thought that I wouldn't be able to believe for that reason. I was wrong.
Wow.
There's no conflict there. And when you look into it, you can actually see that when you look at the Big Bang as a theory, you can see that it lines up a lot more with Genesis than the scientists at the time were willing to admit. And evolution is a stunning theory about how God could have created all of life on Earth. And so you see, as this point in my faith, I can say that there is no conflict, and I can be a science-loving person and love Jesus and follow him as well.
Fantastic.
That's amazing.
This is one of these high fives where you want to say, no, let's make this a high 60.
Exactly.
And just keep on talking, Dan. Tell us all about how
that's all
the
I have on the sheet. So,
come to the bottom of the sheet.
That's it now. That's why I had to write it down.
No, that's really interesting you say that, because I was reflecting on, Dan and I have a little chat by email actually this week before, and I was remembering, we're both quite excited, there's a big black hole that's been discovered this week, so we were texting back and forth about that. It's really big, and makes the Milky Way so beautiful, and there's a photo later that I've got, which you'll see. But I was reflecting back when I was a teenager, struggling with faith and science, a bit like you, and thinking, how does it all hang together? I was about 16, 17, and it was actually going to a science talk about the galaxy and about how things are formed, and proper astrophysicist, a bit like yourself, and it was just blew my mind. But I just took it to God and just said, well, this is so big that it's got to be you. It can't be anything else. And the Big Bang stuff that you've talked about. So it really did move me towards Jesus, actually, in a funny, in a specific way, which was amazing. So
actually, I think that, dare I say, that period of life is quite key, isn't it, in understanding that when we're moving from childhood into adulthood, that we can be wrong. If we can learn that then, we can learn a little bit of humility then it can really alter our adult period, can't it? Because it's I would think for most of us, it's a daily realization that we're wrong. And sometimes it's the arrogance of holding our view too firmly and not being open to hearing someone else's view, or that gets us a bit too fixed. I'm not getting a lot online, to be fair. Mac she's the only one.
This is my
Bless
wife.
you, Mac.
It's my wife.
Humility to your heart. She says she is often wrong with her priorities for the day.
Oh,
You are not alone in that one, Mac.
that's
Bless
a good
you.
one. Yeah. No, well, thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning. And if you do have time, you're able to join us in a bit. That's fine. We're meeting here from 10:30 physically and online. Again, check in again on the YouTube at 11 o'clock or so, and others of you might have access to Zoom as well for that. So it'd be really great to see you later, and have a fantastic Sunday, and we'll speak to you all again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
bye.